the first one up, let's talk about Richard Sherman, folks, because, now a full 24 hours has passed. We have a lot more information, and it doesn't seem as bad as it initially did, that kind of clickbait headline that, unfortunately we fell for a little bit, unfortunately. But now we can go back and kind of see what was actually happening, and it wasn't as bad in the sense that he was affecting other people, but it was still a little worrisome. So let's just get right into it here. We'll go in this article right here by ESPN. So Richard Sherman was, quote, drunk and threatened to kill himself before arrest, according to a 911 caller. So let's go into this article. No more falling for the clickbait headlines. We'll read the entire article, seeing is it as bad as it seems, as bad as it did seem, is it better than it did seem? So let's just get right into it. Here we go. So, Richard Sherman was intoxicated and threatened to kill himself during a confrontation with family members before his arrest early Wednesday in a Seattle suburb, according to a 911 caller who identified herself as the free agent cornerback's wife. Audio of the 911 call, believed to be made by Sherman's wife, Ashley Moss, was obtained by ABC News and ESPN early Thursday. The caller described Sherman as being drunk and belligerent. So this is kind of the caller's words right there, his wife's words. And said he was threatening to kill himself. The caller, who identified herself at one point as Ashley Sherman, also said Sherman was, quote, being aggressive, wrestled with her uncle, and, quote, sent text messages to people saying he's going to hang himself. Jeez. Obviously, being drunk is never great. That's why alcohol is kind of trash. That's why we just need to legalize weed everywhere, folks. You don't get this with weed. Come on. So, when people get drunk, folks, I mean, there's like two different kinds of people drunk. One that are just kind of, they just kind of keep to themselves, and the other that just go manic. People go manic on alcohol, folks, but that's legal in the United States. Riddle us that. All right, so he was being aggressive, wrestled with her uncle, and sent text messages to people saying he's going to hang himself. So he wasn't wrestling with the female, wrestling with his wife, Ashley Sherman, or Ashley Moss. We don't know the kind of whole story on that either. But let's keep going here. The caller can be heard attempting to prevent Sherman from leaving the residence, saying, "Richard, please stop." She also told the 911 dispatcher that Sherman drank 2 bottles of hard alcohol. Jeez, 2 bottles? Richard Sherman, dang, you can put him away. 2 bottles of hard alcohol? Damn, we gotta know the bottle size. Are we talking mini bottles? Are we talking big bottles to liters? Richard Sherman was pounding them down, jeez. All right, and once again, that's what happens when you can't smoke weed in the NFL. You gotta drink. Unfortunate. At one point during the call, the caller asked the dispatcher to tell police, quote, "Please don't shoot." That's always great. Could you imagine Richard Sherman getting shot over this? I mean, that would be honestly the worst thing that could have happened. So that's, one thing that, has to kind of be done now. Hey, this is like not the greatest situation. We're just calling you, the police. We're calling 911 just for the help. Please don't pull out the guns. This is not a gun situation. Maybe taser, but, y'all got the bad history, so maybe leave the tasers in the car as well. Just, your regular trained hands that you train so much for. No, y'all should know how to, handle a belligerent drunk person without killing them. So, it's unfortunate that had to be said, but I'm glad that, they have, that Ashley Sherman kind of said that, so we didn't have a dead Richard Sherman on our hands. That would have been absolutely heartbreaking. So she said, "Please don't shoot." Instead, Sherman told her he would fight police if they arrived. Well, maybe leave that out, because now they're like, "Oh no, we shooting now, damn." So that's not the greatest thing there. And then, also you're drunk. I mean, you're going to say outlandish things. He drove over there in the morning. You know what I mean? It's just, it's unfortunate. Yeah, you have to take people at what they're saying, but they're also drunk, and you also just have to be a police officer and do what you're trained to do. This is what you signed up for, getting yourself into sticky situations. You think it's all going to be kind of, sunshine and roses as a police officer? Oh, I gave this man a ticket because he didn't have his blinker on, honey. Oh man, that was my day. Woof, what a day that was. No, there's crime, folks. You watch the news for 2 seconds, there's crime. So, if you're a police officer, you really can't be shooting like that. You gotta do what you're trained to do. take them down. You're not judge, jury, and executioner. You don't know if they're guilty. You don't know if they're innocent. That's not your job to call. Your job is to just your job is to just kind of control the situation. Don't escalate the situation. Remove kind of, the parties involved and let the court system handle it. That is the police's job. All right, but back to the article here. Here we go. In a subsequent 911 call, the caller said she thought Sherman was driving to her parents' home in Redmond, Washington, which is just under 30 miles away from the couple's home in Maple Valley. Sherman is facing several charges after authorities said he crashed his SUV in a construction zone, tried to break into his in-laws' home, and then fought with officers who used a police dog to apprehend him. So he ended up fighting with police officers. So once again, I applaud the officers for not shooting them. The dog got, a little bit of a workout there. He was booked early Wednesday at King County Correctional Facility in Seattle. Records state he was denied bail, but a spokesman for Redmond Police Department told ESPN that it is standard procedure for suspects of domestic violence until they can appear before a judge, and that was kind of the big thing. He has to wait till Thursday, I think, till he appears before a judge, and that's exactly what we're going to get here in the next paragraph here. Sherman's hearing before the judge will not take place until Thursday afternoon, so about this time. We should get updated news on this, hopefully. The judge will determine whether there was probable cause for an arrest and will set bail. Moss told the Seattle Times on Wednesday that Sherman, quote, didn't harm anybody. So that's always great. Having, this huge situation that you do need to call the police on with all this kind of information being thrown out there. He didn't harm anybody. He fought with police officers. Didn't seem like it was that, he's drunk, it's going to be a little bit easier to take down a drunk Richard Sherman. All right, what else do we get here? Quote, my kids were not harmed in the incident. Moss told the newspaper he's a good person, and this is not his character. We're doing all right, just trying to get him out. I want people to know no one was injured. And that's kind of a thing that, I have, just with the criminal justice system in general. It's just like, if all the parties involved weren't kind of, injured or harmed in any way, and they're like, this is like a family issue, we don't want to press charges. I don't know if, the police can still press charges with the family saying that they can't. We also know that, Richard Sherman was drunk and he crashed his car, so they could probably get him on intoxicated driving. That's unfortunate. Family can't kind of stop that from happening. So we really hope that no charges get pressed on the side of kind of domestic violence and burglary side. Maybe with the drunk driving, probably we'll get them on that, but we'll see. All right, what else do we get to here? All right, the burglary charge is a felony that includes a domestic violence component because it was at the home of relatives. Just kind of classic, if you're doing it to, a family member, it's automatically classified as domestic violence. If it's like a white person doing something to a black person, it's always kind of, classified as a hate crime. It's just kind of what it entails, unfortunately. So the burglary charge is a felony that includes a domestic violence component because it was at the home of the relatives. Now, this is kind of what we want totally dropped. If, Ashley Sherman is saying, hey, we're all good. We don't want to press charges. This was just kind of an out of the blue, probably one in 100 time thing that won't probably happen again. We just want everything to go away. We'll handle this, ourselves. We don't need the justice system. We don't need the courts to get involved. Let's just drop all these kind of felony charge talks right off the rip. All right, Sherman did not enter the home and did not strike or try to hit any family members, authorities said. The malicious mischief charge is in relation to the damage he allegedly did to the front door. But once again, he's got money, folks. He was in the NFL, so he can once again take care of this outside of the court setting. Washington State Patrol received a separate 911 call at approximately 1:26 a.m. about a possibly impaired driver after Sherman allegedly drove his SUV into a closed construction zone. So this is probably what they're truly going to get him on. The call was made by a worker in the construction zone. State Police Captain Ron Mead said Wednesday, noting we're very fortunate that there were no injuries. Yeah, drunk driving. There is real no tolerance for that, folks. Police responded and found the vehicle, which had significant, quote, significant damage on the driver's side as a result from contact with a barrier in a parking lot. They ran the plates on the vehicle and determined it was registered to Sherman. In its effort to find Sherman, the Washington State Patrol was alerted to the incident and called into police in Redmond and went to the location and assisted in the arrest. Officers and state troopers tried to calm the situation by developing a rapport with Sherman. Absolutely great. That's how you're supposed to do it. One trooper told Sherman how, as a teenager, he worked as a valet and once parked Sherman's car. Hey, before we arrest you and I handcuff you, can I get your autograph real quick on this valet ticket of yours? I've been carrying around this Richard Sherman valet ticket. Can you please sign this before I arrest you? Redmond Police Department Chief Daryl Lowe said the situation between Sherman and the police turned after he was informed that they had probable cause to place him under arrest. I mean, nobody wants to be arrested, folks. This is a natural, reaction. Hey, I'm getting arrested. Hey, whoa. Because as soon as they say, you're under arrest, they're immediately, taking your hands and putting it behind your back, and you're fighting for your freedom at that point, and you just want all the information. So once again, we're not blaming Richard Sherman for kind of being a little not over the top aggressive, a little just kind of, like teeny tiny bit kind of, I don't want to say aggressive, and I don't want to use the words resisting arrest, but kind of, a teeny, like throwing your shoulders, like, hey, what's going on? Like, give me all the information before you start, giving me these handcuffs. So Sherman, the situation between Sherman and police turned after he was informed that they had probable cause to place him under arrest. At this point, he began walking away rapidly and fought as police tried to take him into custody. So I guess that rapport of you with the valet didn't really work out that well. Maybe try a new tactic for the next situation, the next celebrity that you run into. A K-9 officer working as backup released the dog to subdue him. Sherman suffered minor cuts to his lower leg. Oh, God, the legs, that's what he kind of prides himself on. He needs the legs to keep up with those shifty, fast wide receivers. Damn, dogs are ruining this man's career. This is not the first time a dog has ruined a NFL player's career. But a K-9 officer working as backup released a dog to subdue him. Sherman suffered minor cuts to his lower leg that were caused by the dog and was treated at a hospital before being taken to jail. The Washington State Patrol received a blood search warrant and took a sample from Sherman. Meade said those results are still pending. Lowe said police could smell an, quote, odor of intoxicant emitting from Sherman's breath. So they're definitely going to get him on intoxicated driving. Truly unfortunate. But once again, the NFL doesn't really care about DUIs. They care about domestic violence. And if he can get kind of cleared of these domestic violence charges, he should be able to go for training camp in 2 weeks. What else do we get? Sherman, 33, completed his third season with the San Francisco 49ers in 2020 after spending the first 7 seasons of his career with the Seattle Seahawks. The NFL said Wednesday that it, quote, investigates any incident involving law enforcement, and if there is a violation of personal conduct policy, the player would be facing discipline. Once again, not very good for a free agent that is wanting to get on a team before training camp or as training camp begins, before the actual season begins. Not great. Sherman also is also a vice president of the NFL Players Association's executive committee. Quote, we were made aware of an arrest last night of one of our player leaders for an alleged domestic violence incident and have activated our domestic violence crisis protocol for the protection and support of everyone involved. So once again, just them having to kind of say this was domestic violence just because it's heightening what it actually was, which is never great. The NFLPA said in a statement, quote, we will continue to monitor events closely as more facts are made available to us. Sherman has been selected to 5 Pro Bowls and is a 3-time I love how they stick that right at the end, like praising Richard Sherman on his on-field accomplishments. We know what he's done on the field, folks. So that's where we're at with Richard Sherman, folks. Just kind of seemed like an uncharacteristic encounter just because he was a little drunk. That's unfortunate. Doesn't seem as bad. Obviously, fighting with the police, but once again, it didn't seem like it was that bad. It's not like he was, they said that he was like swinging. It was just like, yeah, he just kind of, resisted arrest. He started to kind of walk away, kind of like fought, as in, not using his hands, but kind of like shrugging off the police officers, which is, it's a natural reaction when your freedom is being threatened, folks, especially when you're drunk. You're not in that state of mind. So we'll see what happens to Richard Sherman. Hopefully nothing bad happens, but I do think they really are going to get him on some DUI things, and we'll see how that affects him getting signed this year. He probably won't play in the NFL this year, maybe. Like I said, the NFL doesn't really take DUIs that seriously because, beer, alcohol is one of their biggest sponsors. So domestic violence, there's no domestic violence sponsor. So they're like, yeah, 4-game suspension for that. And even that, 4 games, you know what I mean? So that's the Richard Sherman story. Now that we have all the information, we'll see what happens as, his court hearing is today. But that's not the only domestic violence. What